Welcome to the January 9th, 2024 meeting. And this, we will be talking only about CPC funding for possible projects in the cemetery.
Woohoo!
And we're still going to have our regular meeting at the end of the month.
And so at that meeting, we will approve the minutes from our previous.
Exactly,
meeting.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's right.
Yep. Awesome.
All right.
Yes.
I just,
January 23 is the.
yeah, the next meeting, the January 23, yeah. So I just checked the CPC guidelines and the date is, yeah, the form, but the date is, the submission is to be determined.
Yeah, yes. So I wonder, if that would be something Patrick might have some information on, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But I assume it's going to be reasonably soon because,
It usually is.
yes,
Very often it's February 15th.
or even before that. I
Yeah,
feel like,
and there's also a meeting beforehand to talk about.
yes,
Right.
yes.
Right, so,
So yeah, it seems like if we want to put in an application, we should work on it.
yeah. But here's the thing, I don't think we can do an application for actually working on the Hearst building itself. Because I don't think we're going to have the information that we need.
So I thought that initially, and then I was studying the fine print on their form, I actually highlighted the key bullet point. It says, provide quotes for costs wherever possible. If not, explain cost estimates. So at least I was kind of thinking, maybe we could sort of use that Kirchendorfer, there's a number there at least, and say, well, that was 4 years ago, and there's been deterioration and inflation since, so we're guesstimating X. And we could put in Bill and Ian's
Right.
statement of what needs to be done.
Right,
And the worst they could do is say no.
yeah, I suppose. That sounds like,
I think that's a great idea.
as someone who might have to write it, I feel pretty uncomfortable with it. It's very, very vague. I don't even know how, for one thing, the Dorsendorf quote, Bill and Ian thought was very high.
Oh, here's Pat.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, good. Hi.
In her new digs, it looks like.
Oh, very nice.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
Oh, hi, Pat.
We were just talking about whether we can get a figure together that would reflect the cost of repairing the Hearst house.
Yeah, I was just talking to Michael about it.
Huh?
I literally just had that conversation with Michael, so we can.
Okay, great. No, it's actually not great. No, what I'm saying is that normally they want budget. They want an actual budget. They want to know what it's going to cost.
Was it CPC?
Yes. And this, all we're talking about today is CPC.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So I don't see how we can get any figure, but Peter found.
So I was looking at the CPC rules, and this one that I highlighted says, please provide quotes wherever possible, if not explain cost estimates. So I was thinking we could do something sort of using Kirchendorfer's 2019 estimate, or quote, actually, and then sort of say,
Yeah.
we have this new statement of what needs to be done from Ian and Bill, and it's sort of in the same ballpark, so therefore we estimate it's going to be X. And wouldn't you like to give us some money for that? And,
And I was just,
Estimate?
well, so Kirchendorfer was 78,000.
Bill and Ian think it could be much, much less than that. Much less than that.
And yet, when I look at what they're suggesting, it looks to me like at least 78,000. Bill and Ian's statement, but obviously.
What they told me was they thought they thought the other quote was high. Apparently, he's quite a meticulous craftsman. Shelby was telling me that he made the cover that goes over the horse, dog and cat fountain, and covered it with a beautiful copper top, which was then stolen. Yeah, and it's gone. So I don't think they're saying we don't need that level for this building.
And yet, on the other hand, there's been inflation.
Oh,
4
absolutely.
years since, and it strikes me, obviously, if it comes in less, then we give the money back.
Well, we don't get the money.
Well, that's
It's reimbursed.
true,
So
right,
basically,
yeah.
we only, whatever it costs that comes in at is, the rest goes back into
Good point,
CPC, but
yes.
it never, it's not, yeah.
Candace had an idea about a month ago, that instead of doing this, which I think maybe we go through Michael and do something for the Hearst building at the town meeting, not with CPC. But Candace also had an idea of perhaps we ask for the fence posts, we have a figure for that, 1180.
11,800?
Yes.
What's your latest intelligence on how much, I think at one time, Peter, you were suggesting that there might be quite a lot of CPC money.
There's 1.18 million and another.
Did I misspeak you? I think that would be an easy thing to get from,
I think it would be easy, but on the other hand, there's 1.1 million around.
what was that?
I think either one of them you'll get, and there's no reason to choose.
Right. There is a reason to choose, because who's going to write them? And they're going to be done they have to be done very quickly.
Yeah, so do you know what the TBD submission date is?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Around February 15th.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's what we know. Okay.
yeah.
But it's only 400 words maximum for 3 questions.
Who's going to write it?
I'd be happy to do a first draft.
I've written a number of them before. They're not, I mean, it's.
I wrote the last one. I'm happy to write the one for the fence posts.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense to me. The other one, I really don't feel comfortable going in there with an amount that it could be 78,000, it could be 100,000, it could be 50,000. We have just no way of knowing.
But it's all.
how it always works.
It's not a crapshoot, right? We are making educated guess. The times, these financial times are a bit of a crapshoot, right? So we just do what we do, and we make our suggestion, we make our pitch, and if it doesn't get approved, it's not approved. If it is approved, then fine, it goes back into the kitty.
Speaking of the cat and dog fountain, the initial estimate was 45,000. It came in at like 50-60% higher because of change, not really change. It was just because the bid was wrong and we had to go back for a second appropriation. Yeah, it basically like, it's not atypical for, you got, like you're saying, it's the best shot.
Oh, no, I understand that completely. Given that we have kind of a sort of a vague idea, I'm a little, the idea of putting 100,000 in that building is a little, well, I suppose, I'm just a little concerned about it.
Well, I mean, the question of the merits, I think, is a legitimate one, to discuss. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't, personally, I think if we're going to use it for a historic purpose, like to create a little, little walking museum or something,
That would be.
let me finish.
Be so far down, no, really, Patrick, you bring this up all the time. We can't make that argument.
I still want to finish, if you don't mind. If we're going to use it for a historic purpose, I think that investing the taxpayers' money at that level makes sense. If we're going to use it to store mowing equipment, I'm not sure it does.
Here's an alternative idea, that we use it as sort of the physical location of our commission, so that we keep everything except the D2, we keep all the volunteer stuff in there, and that we also use it we have to store the stones that are on the ground that can no longer can be attached to a place, they can't leave the cemetery. So they could go in there as well. So as far as, personally, I'd love to have something historic, but we are so far from that. That's going to take a lot of planning and thinking.
The thing about, if you were to open that to the public in some way, shape, or form, it has to be accessible.
Right.
And I don't.
And it has to be opened. It has to be opened all the time and closed all the time and
So
monitored.
using it
And
for storage like you're talking about, I think that makes sense, because it
Yeah.
preserves the outside structure. It's like, wow, look at this. This was a former Hearst house. Look at
we
this.
could put a sign up that
Right.
explains its origin. But then in terms of getting in and out of it, that's something that the volunteers, could do. We could keep a key in the town offices and, historic would be way down the road.
And I think it's just valuable to save a historic building. That's the first point in Bill and Ian's assessment, that the shed has cultural heritage value due to its historic function and associations. And and as a member of this Historic Preservation Commission and the Historical Commission, I agree with that. There are very few of these left in the entire Commonwealth. And it's part of our history, and we ought to save it.
I think you both make excellent points. Using it for that purpose makes sense, and.
I definitely do want to save it. It just, I was saying to Hugh on the way, and they're very, very rare now. You know, they used to be everywhere, and they're rare, but.
Okay, so I think then we should ask for 78,000 plus what inflation has been, which is another 20%. I think we should ask for 100 grand. And the reason I say that is because normally CPC has around $325,000. This year, CPC has about 1.1 million, and there's probably another 75 that we'll claw back because we're not doing the composting toilet, which is 65,000 on the books. And there's another 5 or 10 grand in miscellaneous stuff. So you're looking at once in a lifetime, we've got 1.2 million in CPC. And if you're going to have a good year to ask for a big pot of money, this would be it. Because the argument can be made, and I will make, that CPC was approved at town meeting by the voters 20 years ago, and there's an expectation that is deployed for the purposes outlined in it. And having 3 years worth of, it's more than 3 years worth of CPC funds available to be allocated is not only atypical, sort of not, we need to deploy the money. It has a purpose, which is community preservation, not to sit in a town bank account earning money.
Yep.
So, I think this is a good year to ask if you're going to ask, if we're going to ask.
So it seems like on the table are two things right now, would be the 100,000 for the building and 11,000 for the fence post.
11.8, yeah, basically.
Can we ask for both?
Yeah, of course.
And
I would say put in two separate
Yeah.
CPC grants.
Okay.
Now,
And I think it's worthwhile doing. And it doesn't, and we don't have to have everything down to the penny for estimates and stuff. We can put in, gross estimates and, or even ask for partial funding. So if we know that it's going to cost in the neighborhood of, say, $75,000, then go for 50,000 or something. But it's worth doing. But if you're going to use it for storing stones, then that means that whole flooring is going to have to be
Oh, yeah.
much
Oh, yeah.
more beefed up.
Oh, yeah. Well, the flooring needs to be changed completely. Yeah.
yep, you're right, Pat.
the other thing I'll point out is that Mass Historical has an open round that goes through March 15th. The deadline is March 15th. And it only makes sense that if we're going to take this grant and apply for CPC, we should take the same grant and apply through Mass Historic. I don't see any reason not to. It's another big pot of money that, and one of the CPC questions is, where else are you applying? What other sources do you have? Typically CPC doesn't want to do 100%. They want to do some percentage. And so, looking at, 10,000 out of the cemetery fund and, grant requests for 50,000 from each, or, whatever, totally makes sense to me. But, we could ask CPC for everything and then reduce it and just point out we all are also pursuing the grant with Mass Historic. That tends
If we
to.
get it, obviously.
Yeah, right, then we would
return
reduce it.
back any
Right.
excess money.
Right.
So can you clarify something for me? If we apply to CPC, will they come and for 100,000, will they come back and say, well, we can give you 50,000?
They might.
Okay,
They might,
That
that's why
definitely,
go for the whole thing.
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But you can go for the whole thing, but it's closed. This other grant round is open.
Yep.
The answers on that grant is May 15th. So before we're even at the July 1 start of the fiscal year, we'll have an answer as to whether we'll need less. And if we get that answer before town meeting, we can request less, which doesn't tie up the CPC money.
When is the mass grant due?
March 15th.
March 15th, okay.
So let's have a vote.
So,
Maybe.
Clarify, Peter, are you willing to write up the The app for the.
Yes, maybe I can consult with Patrick a little bit. since he's
Okay,
got
and you can
experience.
do the one for fence posts?
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
so.
That was
We
actually,
do both.
huh?
I vote to, yeah.
I will second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
I
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
for both.
yeah, so I was going to ask about about how we were going to go about doing that. So the mass grant, who's going to do that?
I will, first of all, I think we can, a lot of the information may be the same, but with the mass grants, it goes through combis. So, we should,
Combis?
combis is the Commonwealth. They basically post all the grants on combis. It's the Commonwealth's buying system.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure it's posted now. And their due diligence list is probably more lengthy than otherwise, but we can find it. And in fact, I'll forward the link, but once we pull the information together for the one grant, we should.
Yeah, I wonder if, frankly, I suspect the Community Preservation Commission of Stockbridge might be a little more lenient
Yeah,
with what
absolutely.
we're coming in with
Yeah.
in terms of numbers than the state of Massachusetts. But let's at least look at it, and if it makes any sense at all.
But if it really, I mean, as you point out, that if it, since it's a structure that's rare in Massachusetts now, it seems like it'd be a really good grant opportunity for them to fund. That's right up their alley, isn't it?
Theoretically, you never know what's on their current mind, in terms of, but it's certainly I think it's worth trying for.
It's a great idea.
I think we have to say, as I recall, there's a 50% match requirement.
For what?
For any of those preservation grants.
Yeah. But that would be
So I
CPC.
think we'd have to get somebody because we wouldn't know yet if we've got the CPC.
Sure. Well, I mean, we would. CPC
Well, we
voting
don't.
is in March.
Oh, okay.
I mean, in
Before-
February.
before the 5th. Okay, good.
So we would say
Good,
CPC's voted support for it, and they could always make it conditional. Also, if for whatever reason, in the unlikely event, I mean, town meeting never says no to these things. So if CPC funds it, then.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll work on it, see if we can make that too.
Okay.
So do we have a date for the CPC decision? End of February?
I think it's like, usually there's two meetings. There's a informational meeting and then a voting meeting, and they're usually a week apart.
No, they're more than a week apart, at least they were last year, more than a week apart. Yeah, and Pat's agreeing.
I forget.
Well, yeah.
Don't blend together.
Usually, end of January, I think, is the meeting, but the thing isn't due until the 15th.
Right, and then the voting meeting's at the end of February.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Yeah.
I wasn't here when you guys did the walkthrough about the fence posts. So can you just give me a little bit of background on, are they cracked, are they broken?
They're, why don't I send that information to you?
Okay, that sounds good.
Yes,
That sounds perfect,
yes.
yeah, that'd be great.
I may even have
Yeah,
pictures.
Candace did good detailed analysis on that.
Okay, yeah, that would be helpful, yeah. And you really feel that asking for 100,000 with basically very little information will still be okay?
That whole report, I mean, I think they're.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I mean, I've seen a lot of these.
Both the original one and the new one, and say we're going with the original budget, just because that's
We
what.
don't have a budget for Bill and Ian didn't give us a budget, they just.
Well, no, but the
original
old
budget.
one, the old one is a budget. And then,
Right.
and then we've got Bill and Ian.
This is just
I
a
mean,
major
I've seen,
construction project.
as a member of the Historical
Yeah,
Commission,
you
we
just
look
don't
at
know.
all the historic applications every year. I've been looking at them for years. Some of the ones that come in are,
Right, it's
pretty-
construction.
yeah,
We want to put this thing
will
up?
not be in the bottom of the class.
And also, the historical commission then recommends which of these to fund.
Yes.
So do you think we have an inside track? Do you think we can get their support?
Well, the historical, yes, the Historical Commission has already said this is a significant historic.
Oh, yeah,
preserve,
sort- yeah.
preserve.
Linda's-
And we'll have to make a specific finding again, so we'll do that. And that'll be helpful for, yes, so.
Remind me, wasn't there some factoid about how many Hearst buildings there are in the state? did I see that someplace in the reading?
There's only like 2 or something, isn't
Yeah,
there?
I think that's right. I think there is a factoid in that regard.
And I think that's very important to put in the application.
Fact, boy.
Give us
Factoid.
some-
Factoid.
Mine had two Ds, or 2 Ts, but I haven't run into that there's only 2, but they're not real common, that's for sure. I did some research to learn as much as I could about it, and we're not able to find much about it at all. We can't find when it was built, not so far.
If we find one of those little old timey buggies that like, hearse buggies, I wonder if we could get one of those on eBay. That we could sort of put in the.
You can look that up.
All right, I'll do that. Put on
Maybe
my.
maybe the Sedgwicks can give us a.
Yeah,
hint.
that's right.
No, they use a wagon, don't they? They always use a wagon. So.
Well, isn't that their hearse though? I mean, that they always follow the wagon down the street.
Yeah, but no, this was actually a hearse
Yeah, the hearse house.
carriage. So,
Not the patty type.
so,
No tea.
all right, anything yet, Peter?
I think this was fabulous.
So I'll figure out, and, so I'll circulate a draft and we can, play.
That would be great, yeah. And I'll circulate a draft of mine too.
Can we do that? Is that allowed?
I don't know.
And pictures would be great.
Yeah,
Do we have
yeah,
any,
pick
do
me
we
out
have
of
any,
that.
do we have
do
any
it.
historic pictures?
Of our building?
Yeah,
No, I don't, nothing I've run into
Yeah.
so far.
I wonder, have you checked at the
Library, yes.
historical room? Yeah.
Yes, oh, yeah. Yeah, Josh did a bunch of work for me. What he found was that there's references to repairing the carriage itself, but there's no reference to the, and I went through the selectmen's records, and much of the time, anything for the cemetery was just a chunk of money, like 300 or 350, which was probably equivalent of 15,000 now, maybe. And the selectmen were just in charge of that. So they could have built the thing and they only do once a year. This wasn't like now where we have minutes all the time. So they could have just built it and, we didn't know about it. So,
All right.
So
Probably
that
should.
can all go in the application.
We probably should do our drafts and then do just when we're ready with the draft, I would just call a quick meeting and post them as part of the packet. We're not really supposed to be
Well,
emailing.
maybe we
Yeah.
could do it at the next meeting. We're meeting again in a
Yeah.
couple of weeks.
we're meeting on the 23rd.
All right, okay, so as long
So,
as.
yeah, so we'll have
yeah.
drafts to look at them.
And then you can basically, as soon as you want to distribute them, just post the meeting packet, even if it's more than 2 days ahead, and just put them in the meeting packet, then we can all look at them. That way. there's-
And we can talk about it, yeah.
That's good.
That makes sense. It'd be good to have it done then anyway.
Yeah,
'cause it's-
absolutely.
I don't know when it's going to be.
Yeah, we don't know what the deadline's going to be, so we
Yeah.
want to be ready.
Now, the other question is on CBC, whether you want to ask for any administrative funds around the software project. You can't do administrative tasks with regular CPC money, but there's like 12,000 available each year that can go toward administrative type projects. And I think it's 10, 12,000, something like that. And so if you wanted to explore the database project we talked about, we might also consider a couple of $1,000 grant requests as a third request that would come out of specifically administrative funds to do whatever that software is that you were talking about or building around.
Can somebody fill us in a little bit more on the software?
Yeah, I'm not sure we know enough
Okay.
to put that down yet.
Okay.
Because I'm having some,
I'm okay with just doing two.
yeah,
Just,
it's not clear yet.
okay,
Other than storage of our documents and people being able to look it up, what we should be doing.
all right.
Yeah,
So
I think that's something we should,
I'm not ready to commit to something else. Yeah,
It's on my checklist.
yep.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe next year if we.
Well, that's what I was just thinking. It might be a good thing to do next year.
I, not that I want to throw something else on the table, but trees for me are super important in the cemetery, or shrubs. And I'm wondering if there's a way to include the cemetery in a more town-wide tree program?
Well, I talked to the Forestry Commission last night and we approved a request of 25,000 for tree plantings. So, and that would be basically there's going to be kind of a novel effort to, to work with the town forest to plant trees in the watershed. It could easily be in the cemetery as well. And basically work between, let the kind of Agriculture and Forestry Commission work with, town departments like Water and Sewer, Cemetery to then access those funds.
Okay.
Specifically for tree planting. So I think it's a great idea. And I think one of us should reach out to Matt Boudreau. I'm basically writing it myself, so I mean,
Well, we don't want to go too far with this
Right,
because
exactly.
that's not
Sorry,
what
this wasn't on
we're.
the agenda, but I was
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
but
thinking
no.
in terms of funding, and so we'll bring that up at the next meeting.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think your November 28 sort of master planning idea document is
Yes.
wonderful and something we need to explore.
Yeah.
Subsequently.
And I think that, what we do with
This is part of that.
with that, the computer stuff is part of that
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
So we really have a chance to think
We'll
it
have to
through.
plan, Patrick, plan ahead.
Yeah, we do. Yes, not everything can be decided immediately. All right, so on the 23rd, then we'll come in with our
Our drafts.
CPC and the MHC stuff, right?
Yes.
all right.
we should review if it's a
Review those things.
100-page application, and we'll let you decide whether, I have no idea. I haven't reviewed it yet.
Yeah.
Oh, so you haven't
okay.
actually looked at those?
Right.
I saw a copy because of the Old Town Hall project, my hat of the Berkshire Waldorf High School.
Right, oh, right.
That's how I knew about it, but I haven't actually gone and looked at it yet because technically we don't own that building yet. So, until we do, we'll see whether we can meet the
Yeah,
grant.
we'll make the MHC a maybe, depending on how practical it looks.
Yeah,
We'll have 1 or 2 drafts for the meeting on that regard.
that sounds good. All right.
Anything else?
I think we're done.
Sounds good.
Oh, actually, doing one more thing. I wrote to Sally about the remainder of the project for the Sergeant Stones, just to ask if we could just go on. And she said yes, and we're sort of waiting to hear from Linda, but it's been over a week or so. So I think basically we can simply use the same amount of money that we already have, because we have enough money now to finish that project in the spring. So get them up and.
Great.
Yeah, so that was very nice. It was good. I was very glad about that.
Good to go.
All right.
Sounds good.
I move we adjourn.
A second.
I second.
Hey.
All in favor? Aye.